Welcome to this episode of my Women Empowerment Wednesday show. My name is Jessica DSB. Enjoy this episode.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Women Empowerment Wednesday. Welcome to all of you that be joining live. My name is Jessica. I am a coach, entrepreneur, 2 times best international selling author. I am a mom and a passionate world traveler. I'm super excited to be with all of you today. With me joining a special guest. I'm super excited to have her join me today. Before I introduce her, what I've been up to, so since April 1st, I've been doing this Women Empowerment Wednesday Facebook Live. Every week, I have a special guest joining me. We have different conversations that are empowering, inspiring, and touching. This is not only a conversation between me and the special guest. We want this to be a movement. So let's bring this conversation into the people's lives that you care about, your friends, your family. Join me every week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a Facebook group, Women Empowerment by Jessica DSB, and where you can find all the videos for every week that I've been doing this show. And we are to 360 members. I'm super excited because, as a reminder, this is the book that I'm a co-author inside of 365 Empowering Stories. As soon as we hit 365 members on the group, I'm doing a draw, so somebody will get a free copy of this book. So join the group, invite the people that you care about. Let's create this movement, this community. Yay! I'm super excited. All right, today joining me as part 2, because Miss Randi Goodman was a special guest, I think back in September or August, I can't remember the exact date, where we talked about the women, empowered women events, the events that she would be hosting. And then I had told her there's just so much to talk about. We can't cover it in 35 minutes. Let's do a part 2 as covering being an author, because this wonderful lady is 8 times best international selling author. Oh my God, so exciting. And she is an event producer. She, with trust and integrity and dedication, incredible support, Randi will assist you with one of the most incredible, important purchases in your life, which is your home, your property. She is the one to go to with all the incredible network. And I'll have her share a bit more of who she is. But thank you, Randi, for being here. Yay!
Thank you, Jessica, so much. I mean, you're making such a big difference in people's lives and doing these interviews every week and just sharing people with people. It's just so beautiful. And I know how strongly you feel about empowering people, and congratulations on being an author. And I know you want to talk about that this time. So yes. That's awesome. And so you get to talk from experience.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't wait for this date to come. I'm like, oh my God. And then people asking me all these questions. I'm like, let's wait. On October 21st, we'll have a special guest. She's incredible. And we're going to talk about that. So thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure to connect with you and empowering people together. So let me hear a bit more of who you are for the people that are just seeing you for the first time, maybe. Or let's hear a bit more about who you are, the incredible you.
Thank you again for having me on a second time, Jessica. I'm really, really honored. I want you to know. And okay, so a little bit about me. I have, and it's funny because I'm only going to mention this because we're talking about books today, but okay. I actually studied math and science in school. So I loved math and science. I took accounting. I loved numbers, right? Loved science and numbers, and I hated writing. I hated English. I didn't like any class that had to do with English. You say, okay, but you're an 8-time #1 international best-selling author. Okay. Yes, I hated writing. I still don't like writing, but
Mm.
and this will probably resonate with a lot of people out there because they're probably thinking the same thing. I'd like to write, but yeah, I don't like to write. So we'll get into that later.
Yes.
But so the journey went on. I ran a manufacturing company. Then I stayed home for 15 years raising my kids and had a couple side businesses just to keep my business brain going. And then I separated like 12 years ago, and it was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Right? I don't want to be a bookkeeper. Nope. What I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started networking and got into all sorts of things, and then kind of fell into doing business to business events. Now, what I didn't mention yet is I did years and years of charity galas through those years that I was home with the kids. I was chair and on councils at 3 different schools for the kids as they were growing up. I was very involved there. I got a 2nd-degree black belt in that time. So It's not like I was sitting on the couch eating bonbons or anything, right? But, just trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do? What am I going to do? What am I capable of? But then I know people resonate with this, all kinds of self-doubt, thinking, what do I have to offer people? Like, what can I do? What are they going to pay me for? Like, all these really terrible thoughts that a lot of you out there probably, resonate with. And you're thinking, what am I going to do? And I ended up falling into doing these trade shows, these little teeny tiny trade shows. But my vision is always much bigger than that. And I'm like, okay, well, what can we do with them? So I ended up turning them into conferences and trade shows. And then, of course, the book writing and publishing came along when I was, when I had a partner for a few years, Gordon, and I, continued on. So we partnered for a few years and then separated amicably from that business partnership, and then, completed the books. And then I got into real estate. I've been investing in real estate over 30 years and thought, okay, well, I can help clients with their dreams. So I got into that and love it. So I absolutely love helping people there. And so I scaled back on the events, scaled back on the books so that I could spend more time on real estate. And we were supposed to have the Toronto Women's Expo 10th anniversary in March, and literally 10 days before we got shut down because of COVID. So I don't know when we'll be able to have a live event, but it is going to be a live event. We still have everything in place. It's ready to go. We just need the ability to make it happen as far as COVID rules go. And as soon as those clear up, you better believe we're going to do it. And there's been a little talk about doing it outside in the better weather. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys posted. We don't know what we're going to do.
I want to be there. I don't want to miss that event. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. For those that might have not watched the part 1, I was sharing how I had the pleasure to meet Randi. And I was in Toronto that day, and my best friend Tara had received one of the, I guess, event promotion that there was an Empowering Women to Succeed conference. We have to go. And I was like, wait, why not? I'm there for work. I'm there for the full day. So we end up going. And a bit like you were explaining, I was a bit like, I love my career, but I wanted more, and I just didn't know how, and how can I get paid for it? And my dream was always to be a writer, to have my own book, but I didn't know where to start. And being at that event, at that conference, having the coaches panel, having, the promotion of the book writing and all that under one roof, made so much sense. And it was totally the beginning of something like transformative for my whole life for me. So thank you again for doing that. And I'm super excited because we're going to talk about being an author, and I didn't know what to do, how to start. And then you were promoting the book that I was showing earlier, the 365 Empowering Stories. And I said, I think it was like January 1st. And I said, this is it. I'm signing. I don't know what I'm going to write about. I just know I want to do it. And this project makes sense to me because I know that the people in the background doing it, I'm doing this. So I signed up. And it was the beginning. It was the beginning of my, my being an author, and it was amazing. So thank you. So tell me, how did that specific project started, the 365 Empowering Stories?
So, Gordon had approached me years before with the front cover of the Empowering Women to Succeed book, the first one, and put it in a frame. We were at one of our Business Well summits, and he plunked it in front of me on the table and said, "This is our next project." I went, "Okay," right? So of course I have to make it happen. So make it happen. And, 5 series later in that one. And then I thought, you know what, like, how can you allow because the price point was pretty high, right? They're large chapters, but the price point's high. And I thought, how can you give more people an opportunity who maybe can't afford, that price point, but, make the chapters smaller and make it at a price point that more people could afford to do, and they get to also become authors. So I thought, you know what, let's do, and actually I had been part of another one, someone else's compilation where they do these short stories. So that's really where the thought came from, the whole idea, but I'm already doing books. So it was like, you know what, let me see if we can pull this off and do it. And it took longer than expected, of course. And, so I decided I'm not doing that one again. But, the fact that I could help all those people become authors and to get published is really special. Like, whether they're short stories or long stories, it's really an honor to be able to be the catalyst to help people in that realm. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and thank you, because I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for the whole project, because it really was the entry point for me, and it totally makes sense. Like you said, that the entry price was reasonable, the support was there, and then the promotion afterwards, and then now you look at a book, and then you look, your face is there. It's just like, it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. So thank you. So you did 5 volumes of the Empowering Women to Succeed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then this one, and then the other one. So what made you continue to do volume 2 and 3? And because in the beginning it was like not your idea, right? It's Gordon that brought you this idea, and then you still continued. So what made you continue?
Well, we worked on the first few together, right? And you know what? It was demand, I guess. People wanted it. So as long as they wanted it and wanted to share their stories, then it's really basically supply and demand, right? If people want it, then you have clients. If they don't want it, then if they don't see value in it, then there's nothing to offer. So clearly people were seeing value. It's not just like, there's so many different levels of using a book, right? For those out there that are not in business, you might be leaving a legacy for your family. You might just want to share something you've never shared before, and this is your outlet for your own healing. You may want to use it for a business if you have a business, and add credibility to yourself. So, because what these authors are talking about is they're talking about challenges they faced in their life, and they can talk about personal challenges or business challenges, and then they talk about how do they get through those challenges. And it's really, it really has an impact on people, because a lot of people would think, oh my goodness, I'm the only one going through this. And then they read a story and they're like, wow, somebody else went through something similar. But maybe they thought, I have no idea how to get through this. I'm stuck. I'm miserable. I'm depressed. I'm whatever. And then they read someone's story that they resonated with, and they see how that person got through it and what they did to deal with the situation or deal with their emotions or their mental health about it. And they can reach out to them. They can reach out to the people that they got help from. They can get new ideas. And best of all, they get hope, knowing that it's possible to get through some really terrible things that people go through, right? And not everybody's writing about terrible things, but you know, some people are just really, really stuck and you can't get past it. And then they can see how someone can still live a happy and successful life after going through some shtick. Like, I don't think people realize that just because a person beside you smiling doesn't mean they're having a wonderful life. You know, like they can have all kinds of stuff going on behind the closet or behind the door, you know, that nobody knows about, right? And then they're just putting on a facade, like, you know, I don't want to bring it up, but like suicides and stuff. You know, how many people walk around with a smile on their face, and the next thing you know, they're gone. Nobody had a clue that anything was happening with them, but clearly something was happening with them, or they wouldn't have done that. So, you know, I think it's really important for people to have a platform to share and to be able to read other people's stories and be able to connect with them, right? And one of the things that's really important to me to have in the books is the bios and the contact information. So if somebody wants to be contacted or wants to connect, and I've never had an author say no. I've never had an author say, don't contact me, right? So it's really about making an impact and making a difference. And yeah.
Wow. And I'm telling you, you have succeeded with me, because when I went to that first event, I bought the Empowering Women to Succeed. I cannot remember which volume, but I bought the one book, and then I took it home. I started reading it. And then this one chapter, I started crying. Like I couldn't stop crying.
Right.
And I could connect with the author, and I was like, oh my God, she went through what I went through, and I thought I was the only one in the world going through what I was going through. And then look at her now living a life of abundance in all areas. And I reached out to her, and this is Coach Haley Patry, and you know, again, I read her chapter, you know, she shared her story. So I just want to say a quick shout out to everybody watching. Hello, Roxanne, Annie, Emmanuel, Andre. Hey, Steph. How are you? If you're watching live, type live in the comments. If you're going to be watching replay, type replay so I know. Welcome to all of you. So we're talking about being an author, an empowered author, and how your story can have a true impact in people's lives. So why should again, if somebody's watching now and they might be like you, oh, I hate writing, or oh, I'm not sure if my story can have an impact, or I'm not sure how to what advice would you give that person?
Before I do, you mentioned Haley Patry, and it happens to be her birthday today. So happy birthday.
So That's why I saw it this morning. I'm like, oh my God, thank you for reminding me. Happy birthday, lovely lady. I love you so much. And thank you again for everything that you've done in my life and everybody else's life that you're impacting every day. So thank you, Randi, for telling me.
Okay. So so I wasn't a writer. I worked so hard. Like I did well in school, but it wasn't from it coming easily. Let me tell you, when it came to English subjects, I worked hard. I did not like them at all. And so it's funny that, you know, I looked at it as a project, but I didn't look at it as I'm going to write initially. I didn't think I wasn't going to write. I just didn't think about it. And then as we're going, okay, yeah, I'll be an author. And then I remember sitting in my editor's course, and she's like, come take my course. Okay, fine, I'll take your course, right? So go sit in her course, and I'm sitting, I'm stuck. She wants us to write, and I'm totally stuck. Nothing is coming out. Nothing's in my head. I have no clue what I want to write about. Nothing. So she gave us some time to sit there and write. So, okay, figuring out, okay, just start writing. It literally just start writing. And next thing you know, I wrote 3,000 words, right? And like once you start, you can't stop because it flows from one thing to the next thing.
Right.
Now, I don't care whether you think you're a good editor or you think you're a good writer or you think whatever you're the end all and be all to English writing. You have to have an editor, period. Your eyes are not the same as someone else's eyes. They're going to catch something that you've been staring at over and over and over again. And you need an editor. So if you're writing a book and you're thinking, oh, I'm a good writer, I'm just going to write my own thing, and nope, you need an editor. Like even those short stories in the 365, we hired an editor to edit them. Why? Because we want them to be professional. We want them to be properly written, and it reflects you, right? It's a reflection on you. So whether you're using it for business or not, it's a reflection on you and who you are and how you communicate with people and whether they can understand you or not, and whether your story flows or not, So it's better to be understood and have somebody reach out to you than somebody looking at it and going, oh my goodness, this book is crap. It wasn't edited. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. I don't want that for the authors. I want them to be respected and, and yeah, we all make mistakes. We all make typos. We all make grammar errors. God knows I do it all the time. But, if you're writing something professional, an article, anything written that you're publishing, I would have an editor. So that's one piece of advice I really strongly suggest for everybody.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I'm good at with my thoughts, put them on paper, but when it comes to flowing and making sense and making sure that the message is clearly understood or, sent, yeah, I need an editor. So I know I would need an editor, and we got them, and it's great. So, okay. So what other advice would you also give to maybe somebody that doesn't think they should be writing, or they have that fear or that self-talk about, oh, you don't have anything really good to share, right? Or I'm not a good writer, all that talk.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story, because one of my authors had that feeling. She was continuing to write, but really was hesitant about allowing it to be published. And saying, I didn't have any of these huge traumatic events happen in my life. I had a good life. I had a, whatever. And I said, you have no idea who you're going to impact. You just don't know. And it's funny because I was out for breakfast with this author one morning, and then I had a meeting afterwards for a lady in my network. So when I went to that meeting afterwards, and the lady says to me right away, I read the book. It was awesome. Thank you so much. And I said, well, what was the best part? What resonated with you the most? And she said, guess what she says? She says it was this person's story that I just had breakfast with that had the most impact on her. So of course I texted that person immediately and said, you're not going to believe someone who thinks that you're not going to have an impact on anybody, and just coinkedinkly, I happened to be meeting with somebody afterwards who says that it only mentions that one story, no other story, right? In the book, mentions that one story. So you don't know, like you can't discount your experiences. You can't discount anything in your life. Everything you experience, and don't tell me your life is all full of roses, because at some point you were pissed at somebody, at some point someone hurt you, at some point something happened in your life. It's not all roses. Sorry, it's not. You might not have had a huge traumatic event happen, but I'm sure you had some lessons learned in your life, whether you made the mistakes or someone else did, or it impacted you somehow. you've got something to tell. Whether you're willing to tell it or not is another story, right?
Right.
And it can be a huge healing process for people. You know, it is. They find it so healing and exhilarating to be able to share out loud, to get it out there. And some of them have horrible fears about it. Like, Jessica, I'm not saying this is easy, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are really, really hesitant and having a lot of trouble with it. But when they do, it is so freeing to be able to share it and get it out there, even if nobody read it, you know, just to be able to get it out of their system. You know, when you hold in stuff, it creates diseases, it creates sickness, it's all this negative crap sitting around in your body. It has to do something, right? When you're able to release it, then you are less likely to get disease. You know, there's a hereditary disease in my family that's a stress-caused disease. And, you know, all my life, I've been very conscious of being able to express myself because I don't want to hold it in.
Right.
I don't want to cause this disease to happen because I know I could be vulnerable to it, right? I don't want that. So for me, I know if I don't hold stuff in, then hopefully I'm not going to cause this thing to happen, right? So, right. You know, anyway, it's really, really important to get it out. And even if you don't think you're a writer, there's ghostwriting, there's editors that can help you, they can interview you. There's so many ways to get the information out. You know, maybe you have a physical disability that doesn't allow you to write. Right. You know, there's so many ways to be able to help you get your story out, even if you don't think you're a good writer, you know, you don't think whatever, you can tell your story. You're the only one who can tell your story. Whether you tell it in a succinct, flowable way, who cares? Seriously, who cares? As long as you're able to get it out and a professional is able to put it together for you, you can be a writer, period. Right?
Yes, you can. English is not my first language, even though I continued studying in English. It's not my first language. I cannot write well in English or French, so I'm screwed, but it doesn't matter. That's why there's other people that can help you and edit your work. So just do it. And just to know, just to rephrase what you just said, there's such power in sharing your story. And there's such healing that goes with it as well. I write all the time. I'm always writing, whether my journal or my Microsoft Word, I'm always writing. I just have this healing process. It just feels good to just get everything out. So thank you for sharing that, because it makes so much sense. So hello, Joanie. She says, good job, girls. Richard Onisha. She's the lady that I was talking about, being 3 times an author of her own book. So welcome to the call. Thank you for being there. So I just wanted, because maybe some people on the call might not know what ghostwriting is. Can you share what ghostwriting is?
Absolutely. So ghostwriting is when somebody else, an editor, writes your story for you. So you don't have to write it, but you know, sometimes ghostwriting is asked to go and research a topic and write about it and put it in your name. That's one type of ghostwriting. Another type of ghostwriting would be, Jessica, I'm going to give you a call. I'm going to get a little bit of detail, get some details of your story, and then I'm going to put the story together. So I'm going to take notes on what you tell me, and then I'm going to compile the story. Now, I'm not an editor, obviously, but I'm just using an example, right? You know, and compile it for you. And that's also ghostwriting, and it's written in your name. So the ghostwriter's name is nowhere on the book. You don't know that there was an editor or ghostwriter writing it. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that do it, a lot.
Yeah, because before being an author, I didn't know about that. So it's another way to get even started for your first project, you know, have somebody write it for you, and then you'll be able to continue. She sends a heart to us, Sonisha. So I'm going to ask a few of her questions since she's on right now. She talked about self-publishing or doing it as a collaborative project. what are your thoughts on either or even to make a decision? Do I self-publish? Do I use a publisher, or do I do a collaborative project? Like, what are your
Okay,
thoughts?
so two different questions. So
Yeah.
the first one being part of a compilation or not, I
Yeah.
don't think it's do one or the other. I think a compilation will help you become an author quicker and cheaper. Because and have somebody else do everything, so it kind of warms you up to the process
Yes.
and gets you published, hopefully published as a #1 international best-selling author, but if not, at least you're published.
Right.
And it kind of warms you up to the whole idea. It's an easier step in the door. Doing your own book, absolutely. Like, that's still something I have to do, and I promised my grandfather many like 30 years ago that I would write his book, and it's in transcript, but I haven't finished that yet. But absolutely write your own book, absolutely. But if you're looking for a little bit of experience and an easier step in the door to make it happen, and sometimes it's easier to sell your own individual book when you're already a published author or already have the status of being a bestseller or a #1 international, or whatever it is, right? Sometimes it's easier to get people to support you or to do business with you or connect with you when you've already got that status. And
Right.
so, you know, it's easier. Obviously, I'm biased, right, when it comes to that. But I mean, go ahead and do your own book first if you want. I'm just saying it's an easier route when, and a lot of our authors did it that way. They did a compilation with us, and then they went on to write their own books, and they had a much easier time doing their own books afterwards.
Okay. Amazing. Yeah. She says, Randi will get it done. You'll make him proud.
Awesome.
Awesome. And then when it goes to self-publishing or using already an established publisher?
So I would do your research on that because, you know, I used to teach courses on this, and there's so many different levels of publishing. So there's publishers that own the rights to everything, and they just send you a 10% referral fee if you're lucky. Okay. Then there's different levels of collaboration within it, but usually the publisher owns the rights to your book. So you're thinking, oh, it's my book, I wrote it, you sign this agreement with them, you don't really read it because most people don't, and which you should. And then they figure out later that they don't own their own story. And we never did that. I had a 19-page agreement, and my authors own their own story, and they just give me the right to use a story, right? But so there's different levels. So, you know, are you going to be a Stephen King writer? Are you going to be one of these monster writers? I mean, less than 1% of authors will actually make a living off their book. So when we create our books, we're not doing it thinking we're going to make millions on the sale of the book. I'm thinking I'm making zero on the sale of the book. I'm using it as a marketing tool, period, right? So if people are getting into the business because they think they're going to make the big bucks, think again, unless you're going to end up becoming one of these big wigs that are monster worldwide authors. So let's pretend you're not one of those. And so going to a publisher, they own it. They pay you barely anything for it, and they do everything. Great, now you're published. If that makes you happy, then perfect, all the power to you. It's all about you being happy with the process. You know, a little bit in between, different types of partnerships. And then the extreme is being an indie author or self-publishing. And there are publishing houses that will help indie authors. So you're still owning your own story, but you can pay them $2-3 grand or $5 grand or whatever the package is to have them help you promote your book and to market yourself and to put it everywhere it's supposed to be and all that wonderful stuff. So there are options for indie authors. If you are someone who likes to research and to do the work yourself and you have the time for it, it's not going to take away from your money-making business that puts the roof over your head, then go out there and research, go out there and compare, go decide for yourself what you like better, whether you want someone to do the work for you, whether you want to own your story or not, whether you want to earn a little bit of commission or you want to take the whole thing, or what do you want to use a book for? Like, what's your goal with it? You really have to decide all these things. And that's why we used to do a workshop on it, because we would help them with their avatars, help them with, their goals and breaking down what they want to do and then teaching them step by step how to do everything. No, sorry, I'm not doing it anymore. So, but it might become a course. It might become an online course.
Well, today you're sharing a little bit. Thank you. I love it. Okay, last technical question, and then we'll get back to the empowering conversation is, should the author have its own personal website, or should they use existing platforms to sell the book?
Existing platforms meaning social media?
Or like, like more like an established, how does she say? Yeah, like maybe Amazon? Would that be an established
Oh, okay. So I would definitely have at least a landing page or a website, or at a bare minimum, you can even set up a Facebook page that's dedicated to your book, something that you can drive people to that has a link on it where they can purchase the book, where you can collect their email addresses so that you can stay in contact with them. Now we're getting into the 7 proven marketing strategies to explode your business, which is another course that I was doing. But yeah, you definitely have to have an opt-in, a giveaway. Your giveaway be a chapter in the book, or it could be the whole book electronically. But have something where you're collecting email addresses. Like, don't just let that go. Or you can send them right to Amazon to purchase the book if you're not interested in collecting names. But any business person should be. If you're not in business, it's up to you. At least you can still get in touch with people afterwards if you want to. Maybe they want, like, maybe you wrote a book on, self-help or something, even if you're not in business, but you decide later on, at least you've got people that were interested in what you're doing that you could stay in touch with. So definitely a landing page, a Facebook page, a website, something where you can not only showcase the book, but also a little bit about the book, and then maybe why they want to sign up, or a direct link to purchase the book, whether you're shipping it to them or you're doing it on Amazon or whatever platform you're using. Definitely have a dedicated page for that.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Yay. Yes, she says Amazon and Indigo. I love it. Yay. All right. What we talked about today is being an author, and we have the honor to have 8 times best international selling author, Miss Randi. And everything you've shared today was absolutely amazing. Get your story out there. There's just such power to it. There's healing to it. You gave us a lot of tips on how to go about it. So thank you so much for doing all of that. She said, you got it. I did write 2 books on self-care. Thank you so much. So thank you, Randi. I'm gonna go ahead and read the 2 quotes that I picked for today's call, and I'll let you close off with whatever you want to share that's on your heart, or how you want to empower somebody that's watching that hasn't been an author, or it's already an author and maybe it's thinking of a second book. Or I'm actually working on my own personal book, so I'm actually super excited. Okay. By the end of 2020, I want it done. So woo, let's do it. All right. So I wrote down, never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat. Right. And why I wrote that down is because I was actually listening to an audiobook, Purposeful by Melissa Ambrosini. I didn't know that author, but I love what she was sharing. And she went to so many publishers to get her book published, and they kept saying no. And then she kept doing it and she kept doing it. And then finally she got her book published. So this quote meaning not because you have one defeat that you should stop, or not because you're stuck in your writing, you should stop. Just go ahead. Do you want to share something else on that?
Yeah, you said stuck in your writing, and there's some really good tips to getting through the being stuck in your writing part. One is put your pen down and take a break. That's number one. Go for a walk. Like any type of mobility will help with the creative thinking process to start to flow again. So don't just sit there writing. If you're stuck, get up and walk. Don't bother wasting any time sitting there. The other thing is, don't start with a blank page. You can't see this.
You can't.
You can't. Okay. Don't start with a blank page. Okay. Put some word on your page. So here, word. Put word on your page. Put something on your page so it's not a blank page. I know it sounds dumb, but it's a psychological thing where you're looking at a page with a word on it versus a blank page. And for some reason, the blank doesn't make it any busier. The word tends to make something happen. So those are a couple ideas you can do when you feel like you're stuck and you just can't think or nothing's coming out. Just go and either do an activity or make sure you're not starting from a blank page.
I love it. I love it. And also another thing I do is because sometimes I have these thoughts coming in randomly, like as I'm doing something, I make sure to write those notes down because I'm sure I'm not the only one. Oh my God, what was I thinking this morning? And now I forgot about it, right? So write your things down, keep notes, because these thoughts will come. I love it. So the other quote that I have is, here's the paradox. You will not be able to truly write your book unless you have written your book. Get it out of your head and everything will probably change later. That's fine. Accept at this stage, just accept deep imperfection. And that's Jessie Burton. So I thought it made so much sense because we're sometimes stuck. Well, what if my story changes later? Or what if I'm not writing it right? And I'm just get it down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Exactly. Anything else you want to
add? I did, and then I blanked out on it. The writing it out, like when you are thinking, you were thinking something this morning and then you forgot about it. I even take like a paper or a phone into the washroom, even when I go in the shower, because for me, I tend to have all kinds of things come to me when I have like water showering down on my head, and I write them down. And if I forget to bring my phone, I use like the inside of a toilet roll and I have a pen in my drawer and I just write down something that I'm thinking. So like always have something to write on, whether it's your phone or a pad of paper beside your bed or in the washroom with you or wherever you are. Jot it down, because I always think if it's important enough, I'll remember it, like it'll come back to me, but who knows, sometimes it might not, right?
I don't always trust my brain, so no. It's best to just write it down right away. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, so I'm going to let you finish off with whatever you want to share that's on your heart or you think that people need to hear. And I will be back next Wednesday with another special guest. I love this conversation. I love you. You're so incredible. Again, I'll say it again, that you were such a life transfer, like you were part of a transformation in my life, completely becoming an author, and so many other things. So I really want to acknowledge you publicly. If you want to get in touch with Randi, with you, what's the best way they can reach you?
Well, thank you, honey. They can reach me at randigoodman.ca or dreamhomeswithrandi.com, well, either one.com. And yeah, I mean, you're such a special lady. I love you. I love your energy. And I'm so honored that you've had me on your show, not only once, but twice. So
Nice.
I'm very honored for that. Thank you. And yeah, I mean, anybody, if you have questions, I get people all the time asking me questions about book writing and publishing, even though I don't really help people with it anymore. Like I don't produce the books, although we do have one coming out soon, the launch, but yeah, I'm happy to answer your questions. Of course, if you need help with real estate, I'm always here to support you with that.
You are in the Toronto area, right?
I'm actually working all over Ontario. So even if it's in a city that I'm not familiar with, I have some amazing people that I partner with to help my clients. So yes, I am in the Toronto and vicinity, and even anywhere in Ontario, connect with me. I'm happy to connect you with a really awesome person in your area.
Awesome. Yes, I think it was important to know where you were located.
That's true, right? You get all these Montreal calls.
Right? Any last few words you want to share with us today to close off?
You know what? Just be grateful for everything you have. Be thankful for what you have, because so many don't have it all. And share your stories. Your story is valuable. It will have an impact, and just get through it. And if you need a little push, I'm happy to push you. So thank you again, Jessica.
I love it. I love it. She'll give you that little push. Thank you so much. Happy Wednesday to all of you that were watching. Again, if you were watching live now, type live. If you're going to be watching replay, I also want to know what you'd like to hear about in the next coming weeks. What are the great topics, or things that you want to hear about that can empower you or inspire you or touch you? So let me know. Again, thank you all, and have an awesome day. Bye.
If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share with the people that you love and care about. Jessica DSB.